Hi guys, how are you this morning? Excited because we are talking to Maya Harris. So I'm just waiting for her to join. Have a look and see once she gets on. There we go. Invite. There she is. Hold on. Maya!
Hi,
How are
how
you?
you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
It's so good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I'm so excited for our chat. Thank you for making time. It's 19 days out. How
Oh,
we how's the
I can't
campaign going?
believe it's 19 days. Is it 19 or is it 18? I think we might be 18 out.
Days. Oh
I
my
know, and literally we are counting every single day because we just every single day, every single minute, every single vote, every single person is going to matter. And so it's going well in that everybody is laser focused on the mission, and everybody's just putting their heads down, doing the work, not paying attention to the polls. We're telling everybody, don't pay attention to the polls, because at the end of the day, it's not over until it's over.
Exactly.
18 days is a lifetime in politics. And we just need people to stay focused and continue to, make sure you're registered, request your absentee ballot. If you want to vote, by mail, make your plan to vote, in person. Go to iwillvote.com. So for all the information that you need. So really focused on that. And then just feeling the home stretch part of this, which is there's just so much at stake in this election. And, that feeling of like, we cannot go through another 4 years of this. And, this, failed, incompetent, reckless, dangerous, selfish leadership. So you kind of feel the, intensity and the weight of that. But then also, honestly, just also holding at the same time the excitement of what are we for? And this is not just about who we're against and what we're against, but
What
wow,
we stand for
what
as
we
a
what we stand for, what we're going to fight for when we have two leaders in office who actually want to fight for stuff and to make this a better, America for everyone. And so there's that excitement too. How are you feeling about it? I was thinking about you because in anticipation of us getting a chance to connect, I was thinking about you in particular because also coming from South Africa, coming here, I was, I heard that you just got your green card, I think like last year or
yeah,
something. And, we really feel it's not an exaggeration to say that like our democracy is on the line right now.
absolutely.
So I'm just like, how are you feeling about all of this?
Well, the thing I am from South Africa, yes, and I was born into apartheid. So I was born into segregated South Africa. I distinctly remember age 11 watching my parents get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go and cast their first vote ever in their lives in my country's first democratic election. And I remember it being explained to me that, this is something that we have been working towards as a country, as a people. This is very important, and you may not understand it now as an 11-year-old, but you should always use your vote, that this is a duty to your country, regardless of where you live, to exercise that right.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that particularly, coming from South Africa, seeing, I made this, like, I posted about it because I saw these lines outside Georgia, and I was like, that's exactly in Georgia. I was like, that's exactly the same images I had watching on TV, watching people vote for the very first time. And I do feel like you. I know the stakes. I feel it intensely. I also do feel a groundswell of hope, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is easing whatever anxiety I have, in regards to
Mm-hmm.
the election. But it did bring me to this question, which I want to ask you, is how do we inspire particularly Black Americans, young and old, to, one, get out and vote, but to also, how do we inspire them to know that their vote does matter, that their vote does count, that they would not be working so hard to stop, to disenfranchise Black and brown voters and to suppress their votes if it didn't matter. Because
Yeah.
the apartheid regime, hopelessness and division were the two tools that really worked to divide the country.
It's such a great question, and you put your finger on one part of it, which is our power. Like, we actually have power. And to your point, no one would be trying to be out there working so hard to keep us from the polls if they didn't know what it would mean for us to have free access to the polls, in terms of our power and our belief in what's right and what this country can be and how that would manifest for everyone, right, in incredible ways. And so I think part of it is about that. And I think on the part about power specifically, I mean, one of the examples that I give to people just on the point about, like, does my vote even matter? Like, does it matter if me show up to the polls? Is that in 2016, when we lost the election by 80,000 votes across, you know, some key states, that in some of the precincts that swung the election, the margin of victory was only 2 votes. And so, like, that's 2 people. Like, that's like you and your family member, right? Like, deciding to not go vote. And so just on the math, it actually makes a difference for you as an individual to go and vote, let alone your family, your community, as well. But I think that you're right about this other piece, which is about inspiring people to vote, in that, you know, people find different motivations to vote. Some people vote because they are enthusiastic about candidates, or, you know, people are enthusiastic about issues. I mean, people vote for different reasons. And I think, meaning feel motivated to vote for different reasons. Some people are motivated to vote because of things being horrible, right? Like, out of fear. I think you have to meet people where they are. And in you know, I tend to believe that fear is not enough to vote. That, you know, yes, that can be a good motivator, but that people want to be for something, not just against something. And so to your, you know, other part of your question about our community, I mean, for me, the fact that, you know, Kamala and Joe have an agenda that is a progressive agenda about moving the country forward. I mean, they're not just trying to get us back to some version of normalcy and competence, which they will, and which of course we need. They're talking about being better than we were before, because they know it's not good enough for us to just go back to how it was before. You know?
I feel like COVID actually really showed how fragile some parts of this country is, you know? And in terms of, you know, healthcare, in terms of our preparedness for an epidemic like this, in terms of who gets left behind when something like this happens, our essential workers. So that was one of the things that really excited me about the Biden-Harris administration, is their investment into people. You know, seeing people as good business. As good.
That, I'm so glad that you said that, because one of the things that I've often also said to people about both of them, and I certainly know this about my sister, is they see people. They actually see people. They see people's struggles. They have decency and care and compassion, and they actually want things to be better for Americans. And, you know, back to our community specifically, I mean, there's a whole agenda around things like entrepreneurship. You know, you know, I was surprised to learn that during COVID, to your point about the impacts of COVID, 400,000 small businesses have permanently closed their doors. 400,000, and they are disproportionately Black and brown businesses. And so, you know, Kamala and Joe recognize that, but more importantly, recognize that our communities are actually among the most entrepreneurial, among the most fastest growing entrepreneurs are Black and brown entrepreneurs. And so they
Yeah.
have a plan to increase access to capital for, you know, with a emphasis on Black and brown businesses. They're looking at things like, how are we going to close the racial wealth gap in this country? And, you know, given that for many families, homeownership has been a way to build intergenerational wealth, they're talking about, how do we give people a start, help them with down payment assistance. Right, exactly,
My
right?
federal aid, which I love because I bought my first house last year, and I'm the first person in my family that is going to be able to pass down generational family wealth to my son. You know, I come from immigrants. They are middle class. I came here 10 years ago. I was struggling eating tuna and broccoli, like just to survive. I went
Yeah.
4 years without healthcare. I get it. I've lived, you know, frugally.
To build a life, right?
Yeah,
For your children. And
absolutely.
so, and listen, our mom, Kamala's talked about this. Our mom bought her first home when we were teenagers. Like
Yeah.
her first home when we were teenagers. When my mom sold her home to move to another place, she was, you know, moving out of her home into a condominium. She helped me and my husband get a down payment to get a
Exactly.
home. So
Exactly.
literally, this is the kind of thing that everybody should have the access and the opportunity to. And it is how we help people to build wealth. It is how we build stability and how we build, you know, strong communities, and how we're going to close the racial wealth gap. So
And
you know, I think that there are a lot of things like that that I would encourage people who are still maybe on the fence or still feeling like, you know what, I'm just not feeling it, like, to see what Kamala and Joe are talking about in terms of what they're for
yeah,
and
and
what they will do.
exactly. I know last night in the town hall, Joe spoke about his $70 billion injection into historically black colleges, knowing that
Yes.
education is such an important part of uplifting a community that, hasn't had the kind of access, which is incredibly important. Uh, I think people don't really understand, like, when you talk about racial inequality, it
Mm-hmm.
stems across all facets of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Economic, educational, healthcare. It's all kind of tied in.
It's all intertwined. It's all intertwined. And if we don't make sure that all of our communities have access to opportunity, have access to wealth building, to have access to, you know, healthy and safe communities, we're never going to be able to get beyond, you know, some of the disparities that we're seeing in our country. And really the injustices, you know, that we are seeing. And so I think that it's important to focus on those things as well. I know you have been out there, you know, you kind of got your shirt and your hat and all your stuff early on,
Listen,
and you have
I'm
been
just
in it.
enjoying my.
I love it. But so what, you know, I know you talked a little bit about this, but what inspired you to, like, really not just be supportive, but to get out there and be vocal and be public and use your platform, and really even beyond this election kind of be inspired to activism, to, you know, using your platform?
Um, I think predominantly it's who raised me, probably much like your mother,
Yes.
and where I was born, because I grew up seeing things that children shouldn't. As I mentioned before, went to segregated. Yeah, I lived in segregated South Africa. I went to segregated schools. So I started life off with one foot in the old South Africa, and then, things changed. So my parents, and they really instilled in me, if you see something wrong, you speak up. If you are in the position of privilege, you extend yourself. Um, I've immigrated to 2 countries now, one being New Zealand and now America. And I always feel like an immigrant, it's my responsibility to thank the country that welcomes you. And, America has provided me with incredible opportunities. I am on a show here. I've bought a home. I've started a family. So I can't right now vote because I have my green card, but next election I'll be there. But what I can do is I have this platform and I can educate and get the facts out. And like my father reminded me, I got a text from a girlfriend this morning who was just feeling really kind of down and hopeless. And she said, I just feel so overwhelmed. And I said, look, Dad reminded me the other day, if we stopped fighting during apartheid, if we had given up, because perhaps we wouldn't have seen the change in our lifetime, nothing would have changed. So I think that's my I have a son. I want to create an America and a world, quite frankly, that is accepting of a child, multicultural, multiracial, who will uplift, his gay aunts and uncles, will give women and young girls an opportunity. I love the book that your daughter wrote, Maya Kamala, and we read that because I was like, if you have a problem, if you really want something, you have to work for it. Those are the things still in him. So I sort of wear that immigrant mother hat where I'm like, this is what I have to do, yeah.
But it's funny because you were saying it like much like us. Our mom, she taught us so many things, but one of the things that Kamala talks about that she would tell us is if we ever saw a problem or came home with a problem or a complaint, she would literally just say, like, I don't even want to hear that, like, about your complaining. What are you going to do about it? You need to do something about it. It's not just enough to complain. What are you actually going to do about it? And there was an expectation that we're not going to sit on the sidelines when we see something, and that we were going to actually put ourselves and whatever privilege, whatever, power that we have toward rectifying, remedying and like moving things forward. And it's the same way that we grew up. And then the other thing that you said made me think of something Kamala and I've often talked about, which is, and Rosa Parks has said this, and Coretta Scott King, I've heard it from in different places, but the idea that it's not just a one generation effort, that this is a multi-generational, that the rights and liberties have to be fought for and won in each generation. It is a multi-generational effort. And so we all kind of have to find our place to pick up the baton and keep running the race. And certainly, what's happening right now is a moment when I think we're all being called to action and to exercise our, power.
Yeah.
Exercise our power.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court.
Oh my God. So did you get to watch any of the hearings?
You know what? I did. And it is worrisome. You are a lawyer. So, I am afraid for many things. Obviously, I am so tired of women's healthcare being politicized every election cycle. Right. I'm tired of, the women's right to choose being on the ballot every single time. I am concerned about the rights of my LGBTQ plus friends who are married, and definitely in regards to healthcare. I mean, this administration, the current administration, is lying, saying that they're not going to roll back protections for, like the pre-existing conditions. But what you being a lawyer understanding, explain this.
Yes. I'm going to start with the last thing and then go backwards, which is they are lying. In that this administration is in court right this very second in the United States Supreme Court with a case to strike down the Affordable Care Act and its coverage for pre-existing conditions. So no matter what they say about their support for pre-existing conditions, no matter what they say about like, oh, we have a plan that has not materialized over 4 years, okay? They are in court trying to get rid of health care that 23 million people got access to for the first time when we passed the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
There are over 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions in this country. And between what already existed and now about COVID, right? Which is how many people have lost their jobs and their employer-based health insurance because of COVID? How many people now have 7 million people have been infected with COVID? How many of them will now have a pre-existing condition when they go into the healthcare system?
So this issue around healthcare is critical, and this administration is trying to get rid of the only protection that so many millions of Americans have. So, like, don't believe the hype. Like, that's what's actually happening.
Right.
Joe and Kamala are 100%, their view is that healthcare is a right, not a privilege. So, you know, back to the idea of what are you for? They're for getting everyone covered. They're for building on the Affordable Care Act and taking it further and making it more affordable and bringing down the costs and covering more people and opening more community health centers. So they have a whole plan to get more people covered, not like obviously taking people away or even going back to status quo, right? They want to go further with healthcare. So I think that that's really important. But on the Supreme Court, you know, it really is, I mean, this is where we come back to voting, because it is who wins the elections who get to nominate the people who get to sit on this court for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And, you know, these Republicans have focused on these courts for decades. And it is materializing where, look at, they've got one seat after another seat after another seat. And so it's so important, and it's not just about the presidential election. This is where sometimes, you know, people will vote in the presidential but not in the midterms, or will vote for the presidential at the top of the ticket but won't vote all the way through to the bottom of the ticket. This is where you must, one, vote, but two, vote the whole ticket, because it's the senators who are going to vote this woman up or down. And so we need to have senators who believe what we believe about LGBTQ plus rights, who believe what we believe about voting rights, who believe what we believe about reproductive rights, right? So you need senators, but you need, you know, people in the House to pass good laws along with the senators that a new president could sign. You don't want to sleep on the state races, because right now, you know, the cases that are being brought and the challenges against the Affordable Care Act are being brought by Republican state officials. Right. So, and it's Republican governors who don't want to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act and cover more of their people. And so you've got to focus as well on these other offices. Yeah. You know? Which is so mind-blowing to me as someone who came from New Zealand that has a national healthcare system. Right. During a pandemic. Yeah. During a pandemic. No one is afraid of dying. They know that there is a system I pay into that I don't benefit from because I don't live there, but my friends and my family do, and that's part of being a community, right? And the immorality in a pandemic to be trying to take this healthcare away, you know, and talk about the injustices. So, but that's the point, is that we need a healthcare system that is going to cover everybody and work for everybody and be quality and affordable for everybody. And we are not going to get that with another 4 years of this administration. And you know, that the court, but also healthcare generally, this really illustrates the stakes of that. So I don't know. I know I'm not going to be able to keep you here forever. So I do want to ask you a question. You might look like you had another one. Did you want to go first? No, you go first. My question is, has your family of those who can make a plan, made a plan to vote, and or have your friends, are they making their plans to vote? We are encouraging everybody that you got to make your plan. Like, stuff happens, and don't be like sleeping on this and then like you can't go on election day, because a lot of places you can vote right now. I will tell you a funny story about my husband in the last election, and he's going to hate me for saying this, but he was not going to vote. And he was he's like, oh, you know, Hillary's going to win it. So, and I was like, you are married to a South African? He stood in line for how many hours? Fought. Like, and I was like, you will get on the plane from Vancouver and you will go and vote. And I do not want to see you until I see that sticker. So to answer your question, I am that friend. Yeah. That's good. We need you out there everywhere. Sure. We need you out there everywhere between now and election day with that message. Absolutely. You're like, I can't vote, but all the rest of y'all are gonna vote. Yeah. And I remind people, I said, do not dishonor those of us, those who came before us, who died, who bled, who marched, who clawed their way
to give women and people of color the right to vote. It's so easy to forget that, you know. But like you say, it took me a long time to understand how the American political system worked, that you need the House and you need the Senate, and the president doesn't have all, you know, the power. That down the ballot is incredibly important. And we're seeing this these close races with Jamie Harris and Robert Bollier and Georgia, you know, and these are the senators that are going to make these decisions for the Supreme Court, whether or not this woman gets to have a lifetime appointment based on a resume that does not, she should not be there. So
you are exactly right. And you are a wonderful advocate for this cause. Let me tell you, to make sure, because I'll tell you one last thing, just, you know, all the things that I like have got now in my head, so focused right on us bringing this thing home, is 92 million people in a typical election year are eligible to vote who do not vote. I know. You know, I mean, I've known, you know, generally voting statistics and all that. I just recently learned the 92 million figure, and I'm just, you know what, can't have anybody sitting on the sidelines this time. And remember, going full circle, it was 80,000 votes only that we lost by last time. So, right?
Yes. This is not the protest vote election. This is not the sit this one out election. This is the let's get back human decency. Let's get a president who, here's my thing too. It's like getting a president who can not only reach across the aisle, but will work for all Americans, regardless of being the Democratic nominee, that you have both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying, I will work for you, even if you didn't vote for me, because we are going to be an administration for the American people, not for business or special interest groups or.
And they both are public servants. They both are public servants their whole lives, and really want government to work better for people. And they want to serve. They believe in service. They respect service. It is about not only what we're trying to evict from the White House, but what we are trying to put into the White House. And I know with Joe and Kamala that they are really going to put all of their heart and all of their energy into making us better than we were before. And we just need to make sure that we get them in there. And so I guess the thing that I would say in closing is, for people who haven't, go ahead.
What should people do to get involved?
Yes, exactly. Which is, if you have not yet voted, if you're not sure where to vote, you know, if you want to vote by mail and you're not sure if you can still do it or how to get it, go to iwillvote.com. So iwillvote.com is like one-stop shopping for all your voting information that you need. So go there. Once you've made your own plan, then talk to your friends and your family and be like Lesley-Ann. Call up everybody and be like, you need to vote. So then you need to do that. And then I guess the last thing I would say is what you're also doing, which is to join us, join the campaign. 18 days is still a lifetime. We still need more help to bring this whole thing home and to talk to everybody we need to. And so people should text WIN, WIN, to 30330. So WIN to 30330. And that's how they can join the campaign, figure out what they can do to be helpful in these remaining 18 days. And then, let's just get this done.
I know. And on that note of what you can do, there are 650,000 poll workers have already signed up. But because of COVID, the majority of the poll people who usually sign up for this are 60 up. And there's obviously less of those people. So if you are in states, I would just encourage people to check out if there is a poll worker shortage in your state. And there is an organization called Power the Polls, and you can sign up on the day. You help people on the election day to make sure that they are getting to exercise their right to vote come November 3rd. Maya, thank you so much.
Thank you too, and I'm so glad you mentioned the poll workers. We need those folks out there too. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all
Yes.
that you're doing. And we will hopefully
Thank
be seeing each other at a celebration on the other side.
I will be making a celebratory curry, South African curry, here at home to celebrate Vice President's win.
We can't wait. We can't wait. Thank you.
All right, Maya, have an amazing day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.